Family Hour podcast.
Where the fuck am I? Where the fuck am I? What are those? Those fucking weasels? What the fuck? Help! Someone fucking help! Today we're giving a free coffin to our most cynical caller. Hi. Hello to all the new listeners listening to this episode of the DTFH. Wherever you may be, if you're deep in the thick of the thickest thicket, if you're lost in the rotating gears of a massive cuckoo clock stuck in a maze inside a maze in a box inside a wizard's laboratory, or if you're somewhere back in time picking this up on a cut that fucking music Tesla coil, you are welcome here. This is your home. Unfold your 7 layers and pull your soul out of that beautiful copper-etched ornate orb you've been storing it in, and allow yourself a few moments of sweet relief from the terrible burdensomeness of being a cork shoved into the pleasure node of time. And now to the traffic report with Jerry, the existentialist.
First, I just want to say that this traffic is a catastrophe today and every day. It will not get better even if there was not back-to-back traffic in the city. The people will still be in the pursuit of a life of happiness which has been given to them, implanted into them by the media, which they now worship because of the death of God and religion itself. On the 101, we have a traffic jam of the divers who are apparently unaware of their own mortality and so feel perfectly fine riding in their symbols of death in bumper-to-bumper traffic to get to a place they don't want to be in some pursuit of a dream implanted into them. On the 134, traffic is backed up due to a head-on collision between an Uber driver and the sudden realization that he is not an eternal being and thus completely meaningless. And on the 5, the police are pursuing an outsider who has rejected the morality of society and is now on the run.
Thank you so much for the weather report. Damn, sounds like you got some allergies or something. Spring allergies? Right, yes, I gotcha. Wow, today's podcast is insanely inspirational. Tait Fletcher is here with us, and we're going to jump right into that. But first, some quick business. I fucking love Audible, and I love them even more because now they are sponsoring the DTFH. I literally could rave about Audible for the entire podcast. It's like, I don't know how to put it. It's like one of the luxuries in my life because I can listen to books while I'm riding in an Uber, for example, or doing anything that normally you couldn't read books doing. Also, if you sign up, Audible members get free access to the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and Washington Post delivered daily to the Audible app. I just found that out. I had no idea. I've been a member of Audible for years. With the convenient app, members can access Audible anytime, at the gym, while commuting, on the go, and on any device. It always picks up right where they left off. Audible also offers free and easy audiobook exchanges. Didn't know that. That's cool. Credits you can roll over for a year. Didn't know that. And a library you keep forever, even if you cancel. Didn't know that. This is great. I had no idea. I've been a member for Audible for years, and I had no idea that I could exchange audiobooks. That is badass. Explore all the ways listening to Audible can help improve mind, body, and soul with entertainment, information, and inspiration. You can start listening with a 30-day Audible trial and your first audio book. Plus, 2 Audible originals are free. Visit audible.com/DTFH or text DTFH to 500-500. Yeah, I love Audible. I'll tell you what I'm listening to right now. Let me pull up Audible right now. This is what this book I'm so into, and it is truly blowing my mind. And maybe I'll start posting what I'm listening to on Audible, but I don't want to do that because then you'll be like, he just regurgitates whatever he's listening to on Audible. He has no original thoughts, which is sadly somewhat true. I like to think I have an original thought here and there, but a lot of stuff right now is just coming from things I read. I'm sorry. I'm listening right now to... You remember tracing the letters. Hold on, let me pause that. Chogyam Trumpa's wonderful audio book, which is called Shambhala, The Sacred Path of the Warrior. And the narrator is awesome. And it's just an incredible book. And it's not just about meditation, it's about magic. And because Tibetan Buddhism is connected to shamanism, so there's a lot of like magical stuff in there. It's amazing. Pick this book out when you use our URL. And definitely sign up for Audible if for some crazy reason you haven't yet, especially if you're someone who's getting that weird feeling that your soul is decaying like some rotting, browning, yellowing tooth in the mouth of a sugar addict. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody who like eats sugar and then caught a glimpse of their just fragile, decaying, crypt-like teeth that are just crumbling in front of your very eyes. This is how I sometimes feel my soul must look when I haven't been reading a lot. And a lot of us, we're super busy. We've got our hands full and we don't have time to read. So Audible is the ultimate solution because you can clean your house while listening to amazing books. So give them a shot. Please try Audible. Go to audible.com/DTFH or text DTFH to 500-500. That's audible.com/DTFH or text DTFH to 500-500 and you will get a 30-day Audible trial and your first audiobook plus 2 Audible originals for free. That's cool. That's cool. Some of these audiobooks are like $50 if you want to buy them. So I highly recommend Chogyam Trungpa. But very quickly, I'm sorry, this is a long commercial, but I love Audible. I'm going to list a few others that you should download. The fucking Dark Tower series is read by, I think, Frank Mueller, or am I getting confused with the guy doing the investigation? Regardless, the Dark Tower series, particularly the first 3, are incredible. Moby Dick, holy shit, amazing. They have this old Bhagavad Gita on there. I'm not sure I would necessarily recommend it as the first one you get. That's like a few credits down the line, but it's an incredible Bhagavad Gita. And of course, Path to God's Living the Bhagavad Gita by Ram Dass, and also Experiments in Truth by Ram Dass on Audible is fucking incredible. P.S. They also have, I'm just going to give you a list. People are always like, what? Give us a book list. So here we go. I'm sorry. I know this is long, but I really do love Audible. And you get a free book. This gets you one of these books for free. So here's a few others that are glorious. Usually when I'm picking an Audible book out, I look at how long it is because the shorter ones, not to ruin you guys Audible, but the shorter ones are usually like $3. So there's no point. If you're using your credit, use it on something that's like super long and it's going to keep you busy for a while. The New American Standard Bible. I got the whole Bible on here. Dune. Yes. 21 hours of pure ecstasy, my friends. Definitely download that. I love that one. I'm scrolling through here for some other ones that I've really supremely enjoyed. Superintelligence, Paths, Dangerous Strategies by Nick Bostrom, narrated by Napoleon Ryan, is really good. It's kind of dry, but if you want to get into how crazy what's coming is, specifically AI, try that. Holy Shit, A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson, narrated by Richard Matthews, is amazing. And this one has stuck with me for years. Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World is so fucking good. If you want to find out about the insanity of the Mongol horde, try them. And then Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism by Chogyam Trungpa is there. I could go on and on. If you're looking for I'm sorry, this is like a 7-minute commercial. I just love Audible. It's like a big part of my life. I listen to audiobooks a lot. Living from the Overflow by Michael Beckwith is really great. If you're looking for like a nice inspirational visual, I don't want to call it visualization, but it's a really great book if you're a little on the stuck side. And okay, this is the last one. I'm just scanning through to find. I don't want to keep reading. I don't want to read every single one in my library here. Okay, here is. Sorry. If Audible folks are listening to this and you're like, what? Oh, here it is. That was what I was looking for. In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, narrated by Scott Brick. That is another great fucking audiobook. It's amazing. It's dark because it's about murder and it gets in your head and it might darken you up a little bit. So I don't know if you're looking for something upbeat, that's definitely not the one. Shit. One last one. Food of the Gods, The Search for the Original, I don't know, something. I've always just called it Food of the Gods. It's fantastic. These are all in my Audible library along with a shit ton of other books. So definitely give this sponsor a shot because they are worth every penny. Yeah. My darlings, we have a shop located at duncantrussell.com. P.S. If you are sick of these freaking commercials, man, sign up at patreon.com/DTFH. You will have instant access to hour-long rambles that I put up there that are very embarrassing, and I'm sure in just a few months, or even now, if I go back and listen to them, I might be mortified because I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about what I'm going to say. But they're all there for you if you want to listen to me go on and on about this and that. Also, you'll get early access to the podcast with no commercials. And there is a Discord server, which I have not visited in some time because I am slammed on a thing that I might not be able to talk about for years and years and fucking years. But I love you guys. And man, today's guest, this is a cheesy thing to say, and I don't even know what it means, but I think this guy's changed my life. He is such a sweetheart. And he always has this he's got this vibe that I don't know, it reminds me of Ram Dass, or he's really sweet, and you get around him, you feel inspired. And it's sometimes, you get around people who are super athletic and you feel, I don't know what the word, accidentally shamed or something. But this guy, man, he really makes you feel like you could do it, whatever it is you want to do. And, I've known him for so long, and I've watched his evolution over these years, and it's just a beautiful thing to be friends with Tait. Not just his spiritual evolution or whatever that means, but his evolution as an actor. I had one of the coolest moments watching Westworld, and Tait appears. He's been on millions. He's been in millions, I don't know millions, but he's been in a shit ton of action movies, and I will bet that if there is if they were to remake the old Predator, maybe they're already doing that. I just know we're going to start seeing him as the next big action star. And he deserves it because he is an awesome human who also is an entrepreneur who runs an incredible coffee company called Caveman Coffee that makes delicious cold brew and a lot of other stuff too. So I don't know. He's you can't really put him in any one box. He's just going for it, I guess, is what you would say. So now, please, everybody, rip your chest cavities open, pull your hearts out. Behind your heart, you'll find a folded up little packet with some love dust in it. Pick that up in your bloody hands, dripping with the last bits of lifeblood gushing from your open chest cavity, and blow that splattering mess into the etheric plane so it drifts up into the air, becomes clouds of blood, and rains upon Tait wherever he may be. Welcome to the DTFH, the mythical Tait Fletcher.
It's the Duncan Trussell Family Hour.
I like that because when they're in their sense of discovery,
Yes, man, that's it. And that thing, the weird system that's in place where every single one of us has somebody that took us under their wing and helped us. And when you get to a certain age, you have to become that person, or you're a selfish person.
Or it's and it's also chaos. I think about it in a weird way. I think about that like as far as helping later on in life. And I think about older, like I kind of gauge my life in a lot of ways off of what I see people 10 years down the road doing. As an example, like if you're bouncing and you're 25, what's a 35-year-old bouncer look like? Is that a life that you'd like to adopt when you see it, right? Because if you're moving your feet in those steps, you're going to end up at a similar spot, probably not dissimilar. And just looking at my life in that way, it became a really interesting tool to kind of guide and grow my life and go, oh, shit, you better start moving your feet in a different way or else you're going to get this result. And I started to really look at cause and effect like that. But it's like having the right leader would be invaluable, like to have somebody be like, hey, man, here's a space, create this thing. And like, I mean, with guys at the gym, we've done that as far as, you go, okay, let's create a little coffee shop, and then somebody can run the coffee shop, and then they can learn new skills. And it's like this whole thing of life as skills acquisition. I've been kind of digging on and going, yeah, the more I can have a problem today, surmount that problem tomorrow, or figure out how to wear it better, I'm a stronger person on that third day. And how do I become more and more resilient for this life, or more and more useful for the community, you know?
I have a theory about that is completely probable. It's I like to add woo-woo stuff to like sweeten up reality.
Do you do stars like
Not
the
star.
cosmos or no?
I do. I like the I Ching better than astrology.
Okay.
Only because it's like in the moment, like in the now, it's showing some kind of readout.
Right.
But not that the stars aren't doing that, but they're sort of, it's like the I Ching is like this based on kind of what I've been thinking about relating to what you're talking about, which is goal setting, achievement, and so the idea is because we can only see time as past, present, future, because the way we're set up.
What would be other ways we could see time?
Some kind of totality or some kind of alternate timelines. So like you can kind of look at somebody and think, oh, okay, that every single one of us is pretty much the same. We have varying genetics and a lot of memories. We have different code or operating systems based on culture, experience, epigenetics, but the like computer itself is very, very similar, which is why we have brain surgery that is universal in the sense that if someone's going to do an operation on your brain, they don't have to say, well, what kind of brain does he have? It's a human brain. We basically know how it works. So you can look at somebody and be like, all right, look at all the bouncers I've seen in their 40s or whatever the thing is in their 40s. And sometimes you'll see, oh, shit, it seems like that is a tough job.
Right.
And it has affected them in a negative way. So and I've been thinking about this idea of like, what if goal setting is actually navigation, and that when you set a goal and solve a problem, you literally move into like a different onion skin universe that is similar, almost identical to the one you were in, but now is a little different. And the more you keep doing that, you begin to, in a weird way, ascend. And because I've noticed that the more I study one thing, music, for example, and the more I get really good, not good in the sense of like concert pianist, proficient.
Yeah.
It seems like other stuff starts changing. Everything around me kind of starts changing. The more I meditate, it seems like the more the universe itself is shifting into like a better kind of place, to the point where I start thinking like, wait, is this some kind of like weird navigation? Are we like literally jumping?
It's like that idea that your whole navigation in that way, like you dispel chaos completely from your world. It's a personal responsibility. It's not like the state's job. We push a lot on the state or on government or on parents or on whatever your control system is to make life better. God damn it. This is untenable.
Yes.
Or whatever the thing is, instead of going, no, I need ultimate responsibility and I can dispel my own chaos. Like that's a huge superpower.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's almost one that like people, you gotta hear it from the underbelly of the world, because those people on the top positions, they don't want people thinking in those, because you're not useful if you're thinking in those ways to corporate endeavors, really, because you're not a useful cog in that way.
Right.
If you're self-directed in that way, where it's like, no, I can, find my autonomy right here.
Yeah. There is a, what's it called? I heard this anarchist term called being de-skilled. So it's, most people have this sense of like, there's certain things where you think about it and you're like, I can't do that. And like, I can't sew my
Isn't that the danger of like welfare state kind of thinking in that way? I feel like that's the way, like we've done a lot in reservations. We rob people of their ability for pride in a way by giving them such sustenance level. It's like, don't reach any higher than that. And then folks don't. And it's easy not to, and it's easy to succumb to that almost. Is that?
It's not just it's like every level of one certain reality tunnel that a lot of people are hanging out in, from welfare state to the super wealthy. There's this idea that luxury is synonymous with having other people do your shit for you. Right. So, like I was just at the last Ram Dass retreat and Bob Thurman was talking about how delightful it is to wash dishes, how it's so cool. Like you're getting the experience of like hot water on your hands. The soap smells good. You're cleaning the plates. You get this weird satisfaction from it. Depending on where you're at, it's a great way to show someone you love them because you're like, no, I'll do the dishes. Also, depending on where you're at, it's a good way to get the fuck away from whatever's happening and be by yourself. Yeah. But he was saying, people take their dishes, shove them in the dishwasher, throw chemicals in there, turn the noisy thing on, and completely lose the experience of washing dishes. But that's considered to be luxurious, or that's like, I remember in my younger days, I'd go to someone's house, I'm like, fuck, they've got a dishwasher. If you were in a
wealthier person's house, they had different appliances than you got.
That's right. Yeah. And so like, similarly, there's like all kinds of things that people imagine, there's just no way I could do that. Like some people don't even know about turning their fuses back on. Right. Some people don't know, like if their toilet cloth.
Reset your garbage disposal or something like that. Right?
I had that exact experience. Where the garbage disposal clogged, my wife and I were like, well, let's call the landlord and get a plumber. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Maybe. I didn't mean it in a condescending way. It just dawned on me like, wait, hold on. What? Wait, there's maybe. And then Google found the thing about resetting your garbage disposal, went under it, garbage disposal reset. And it was like, whoa, I'm a hero for like 6 minutes. It's cool. But our go-to is ask someone else to do it. And that is robbing you of these wonderful dopamine hits, serotonin hits, right? Like if you get someone else to do the job for you that you could do, you've
also become more able.
Yeah.
Like I was just before I came here, I met with one of my guys that we meet once a week, and he was, he was going over all the stuff that he wants to do for himself, and he was like, I want to be bigger. A lot of these guys are like, I want to be bigger. I want bigger arms or whatever. You can relate.
Sure.
And I go, well, do you want to be, how big is big enough? Like that's if that's a real thing and I'm to take this seriously, then let's be able to measure this. And I said, and what end is in that? Are we more useful for that? Or are we just assuaging our ego, which is okay. It's important to know what we're doing and what the cost is. And if the cost is some years in time, if I could do something functional, like I could learn to wrestle, or I could learn how to build houses and create my fitness that way, or I could learn how to rock climb or something else like that. You'd also have this, you put 4 years of intention into that, man, you'd be a motherfucker with a skill set at the end of it. Or you're just another dude with pretty moose and the right outfit on doing arm curls at the gym with this arm number that you're chasing.
Right.
So I always look at like that kind of thing and I'm going, how do I get the most juice for the action that I'm doing? Because I'm generally lazy. I don't want to. I'd rather not is the voice, my critic, And so then I'm always like, well, like if I'm going to do this, let's layer upon it so many things so that I have much more aptitude and usefulness in the coming selves that I'm going to manifest. Like, and I started thinking, because I was thinking in my past, I was like, why do I eat? I'm not doing my future self any favors by behaving this way in this moment, whether it's eating something bad or, hooking up with an ex-girlfriend or whatever the thing is. And then I started thinking really proactively about it. It's like, how do I make myself more suitable for the community by doing actions today that are going to layer on good experience so that I'm useful later? And that's my highest place where I try to be. That's a struggle to stay there but it's like, that's what I try to look towards, a lighthouse.
Because it's weird how lifting weights can transform into nihilism in this weird way where you're like, what? You're in some sort of weird, like, existentialist predicament, like Sisyphus, where you're doing this absurd, repetitive task, and you do start thinking like, wait, what is this here? And within that, you can hit this very strange, absurdist place, I imagine. I mean, the one time I did go to a trainer and started getting in shape, I hadn't gotten to the absurdist point yet, just because I was like, holy shit, my body can get in shape. And there was this rush and realizing, oh shit, my body's changing. But I love what you're saying, because it's moving it to a level beyond that of selfishness, which is the moment you have a reason to do something that isn't based on you and is connected to everyone else, your community, your family, then there's this, I don't know how to put it, but this fire. There's a fire in that just doesn't exist. And like, I'm going to get muscles because I'm horny.
Right.
And I think girls like muscles. That's a very low level, yet
it gets you in the game.
It's like, I get it, but But
maybe there's better uses of utility that we could get towards, right? Like that's, I think the thing is, like, every kid wants to have money and everything, or a title or whatever. Working with like a lot of 20-year-olds, it's like that. But you don't merit the position, and you couldn't shoulder the burden. It's like a lot of that time is spent. You've got to sharpen your sword, and you've got to go ahead and build yourself. This whole thing of self-development, and it's really interesting because right now people without the consequence of like horrific drug addiction or cancer or something like that are now going, no, I'm interested in self-development just cause I'd like to get. I'm not running from some horrific, monster that's coming to get me. But I would just like to be better and more developed. And it's like, that's, I think, the Ram Dassas that we get. It's like people are looking into that more and going, I'd like to get higher than this low vibration that we're all kind of living at too.
Right. And what's cool though, is that in the Bhagavad Gita, when like Krishna is talking about the different type of people who end up like being drawn to God, whatever you want to call it, the transcendent, he says, the seekers of gold. And I remember a long time ago reading that, and I'm like, what the fuck? That doesn't seem like sacred, but I think what that means is everyone comes in to this specific temple of whatever you want to call it, awakening, self-improvement, becoming a kinder person for different reasons. And because we are monkeys to some degree, most of the time, those reasons are self-interested. It's like you get in there and you're like, but you don't come to the temple already. You don't come to the gym in shape.
Right.
People don't come to the gym ripped. They come to at some point, you don't come to the guitar to learn to play.
Yet we want a payoff for having endeavored. Like, I've tried, and it's like, you're going to have to stick with it, and you're going to have to sit in pain and frustration for a while before you get the payoff.
And then in that sitting in pain and frustration, something else starts happening. And that's what, to me, is so cool about having known you for so long, is every time I run into you, you have become more in shape, but kinder. Every time I run into you, you seem a little sweeter. And it's like, and so to see those two things happening, and then to hear your explanation for it, that it all makes sense. Because the moment you do shift over from like, all right, I'm going to get in shape for me, I'm going to get in shape to get the job, get the girl, get the respect. The moment it kind of shifts over to like, shit, if I get in shape, then people who are out of shape, who knew me when I was out of shape, are going to see that it's possible. Mm-hmm. And then also, other things for me, like, I had to quit drinking. I had a baby. I had to quit drinking.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But quitting drinking before never worked. I couldn't attach myself to it because I really didn't give a fuck. I was like,
what are you doing this for, kind of?
Yeah. Or you're like, the dog's going to the dog's going to look at me weird or something because the dog knows I've been drinking 3 beers every night or whatever.
What have you been gaining from it? What have you been noticing that, like, has there been a heightened clarity, or what are the biggest differences that you're noticing?
I wake up and feel normal, and it's my friend Karen Kilgariff was saying on my podcast. She said,
she's a murder girl.
yeah.
Dude.
She's the coolest ever.
Dude, my favorite murder is amazing.
Oh, I know. Like they're goddesses.
I've never heard their names
They're
before.
legends.
And then I'm like, and now in 2 years, these girls, I mean, I am so impressed.
They
Anyway, I'm
deserve
sorry.
every
Anyway,
little
yeah.
bit of it too, man. They're
wait, I know that
so
name.
talented, and the show is so good. Everyone loves
So
it.
good.
But she was saying, you know, when you don't drink, you know what's going to happen that night. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's not some weird mystery about like, oh, am I going to be a dick, or like is something?
It used to be. I love that too. It's like I used to love that chaos that it brings. I'm like, I'm in chaos anyway. Fuck it. Let's spin the bottle. Let's take some acid, get a fifth of Jack Daniels, and fucking load up the pistols. You know, and it becomes like, yeah. And if they come home empty and we don't remember why, it doesn't matter. It was exciting. We're going to go to jail or we're going to become gods. Let's do this.
Yeah,
you know?
that's right.
And it's not healthy for a whole society. That's why we have armies. Those people at that age, they need to be somewhere.
Well, yeah, man. And, yeah. But it's, you know, it's alcohol is just such a nightmare for society itself. But like, yeah. So what happens at some point is you begin to realize that your selfishness is beginning to manifest shit beyond just a weird morning where you're like, oh man, that was dumb. And I don't just mean drinking.
You're more aware of the cost.
Yeah, and when you have a family, you can see the impact, you know. And like my dad struggled with alcoholism, and you know, it just something clicked. I'm like, my son is gonna have to deal with a neurotic dad because I am, but he's not gonna deal with, oh, how many beers did dad have tonight? Oh, is dad hungover?
Or is dad making excuses due to his drink? Or tiptoe around dad because he's got a headache, he's been drinking. Or there's all of that stuff. I have to deal with a grown-ass adult that's supposed to take care of me that's denying their responsibilities to the truth of the world.
That is it. And Annie Lamont says something beautiful about growing up in those families. Did you grow up in that kind of family? You are taught to not see the truth. Because if you see the truth and speak it, then the person who's denying what's happening to their lives will get so mad at you because they do not want to deal with the fact that they're the ones who are throwing the Molotov cocktails into every corner of their
And also they can't understand. The alcoholic cannot see that their life is different than another life. That the true and the false become interchangeable. They can't tell the difference of where the one begins and the other ends. And so it's almost like you're talking to a crazy person because they won't accept the truth as you're seeing it because they just can't comprehend it that way, you know?
Yeah.
I think about it often like when you're talking about crawling to the temple too for the seekers of gold.
Yeah.
And I look at that and like what that could mean, you know? And because for a lot of people, they'll settle at silver also. You know, and there's those things, those offerings, right, that we get along the road. Would a little bit of copper take you off the road while you're seeking truth? Oh, how about some ladies? Would they take you off while you're seeking truth? What is your attraction really to the truth or the trappings of truth? What is it that you're after?
Yeah.
You know what? And that's a really interesting conversation, you know? Am I after a
sand traps.
result or am I after experience? Do I want to layer experience upon myself or do I need a result?
This is one of the people I study meditation with, he calls it sand traps. And it's like, there's so many of them out there and everyone gets in them. Like there's no way to not get in them because you're gonna, if you start improving yourself,
the obstacles will start to shoot up from everywhere.
Yeah.
Inside yourself and your family, everywhere.
Everywhere. But then when you get over the obstacles, so to speak, or the first level of them, then all of a sudden you do have to deal with the fact that like now you have to deal with the fact that now you're beginning to realize like shit, I seem to have more clarity than I've ever had in my life. And then because you have a little more clarity when you see earlier versions of you and other people who are still kind of like, you know, whatever the thing is fuzzy or whatever, now there's an unfortunate power dynamic that emerges, which is if you're unscrupulous and you realize like, oh shit, this is a fuzzy person, you can like, this is somewhere in here, you start entering into like potential disaster, which is that you can become a guru, God forbid. And then, you know, and that happens prematurely. So suddenly this is where we start running into people who begin to like, because they're magnetic because what is more magnetic than a disciplined person? A baby and a disciplined person. You're not going to run into anything more magnetic than that. It's just something in people's DNA.
It draws people.
It's like, holy shit. Oh my God. And then, so that's a sand trap. And then, of course, all the other stuff that goes along with it too, which is probably somehow coinciding with your discipline. You start making a little bit more money. You start getting a little more success. And then it's like, oh shit. Now I have access to that room, that room, that room, that room that I never had access to. It's like someone starts giving you different passes to the incarnational festival of your life. And it's like, you were just a regular pass. Oh shit, here's another pass. Now you can kind of get into like the VIP sections. And then the next thing you know, oh, here's the artist pass. We're going to get you backstage. And then it's like, wait, there's another pass. What? Oh yeah, there's a backstage to the backstage. Right. And every single one of those places has within it the ability to get completely
and the producers pat and all, and so there's all these different games in life, right? Like I'm going to play the fatherhood game right now, and then I'm going to play the work game sometimes, and I'm going to play the sobriety game, and I'm going to play the hockey game, and there's all these, different kinds of things that we can endeavor. And I think in the searching, like in all those different rooms, so you talked about my discipline, my practice brought me to the party. And now the party's unfolding.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could never get in the fucking party because I didn't have any discipline. I'm just sloppy. Nobody's inviting me to the party. I get this discipline and practice. Ooh. Now I'm being taken into these places.
Yeah.
And so that very discipline and practice erodes, right? So the thing that took me to the party, I turned my back on because I'm like, now I'm at the party. And all I ever thought while I was in the grind was that all we need to do is get to the party and then things are going to be okay at the party.
Right.
And then you find out, you're like, I hope I didn't degrade my practice too much because I fucking need that to breathe. And the party is superfluous. This is just lights. This is a distraction.
Yeah.
And so it's like that thing about like my sobriety gets so good that it takes me away from the things that I need to do to maintain my sobriety, right? And so that therein is another I mean, all of that stuff. It's just, you just got to, I think that practice is you just keep digging. You just have to keep digging and know that there's not an end.
That's so funny you said that. That's on the wall there. That's this. That was one of the Dalai Lama's teachers, and I was watching. I got obsessed with him for a little bit, but somebody asked him, "What's the difference between enlightenment and money?" And he said, "Money ends. Enlightenment, it never ends." And what he meant is, like money, you can run out of money, but enlightenment or awakening, you don't. It's not like suddenly you're like, oh, I'm there. It's like it keeps.
It's a resonance.
Yeah,
you can maybe carry a resonance that you hope that you don't distort and fall out of enlightenment, right?
Well,
which is the threat all the time.
The thing is, you can't fall out of enlightenment because every single person has within them. This is like one of the things Bob Thurman said that blew my fucking mind. Joy, happiness, pleasure. These are considered mini enlightenments. So like whatever you're in a moment of like, whoa, that little thing, that's it. It's already in you. So I
like that.
Yeah, you can't get away
so you parse up enlightenment into the specificity that comprises, and that's beautiful.
It's pretty cool, right? So then you realize you can't really escape from it. And like, so that moment, really basically the way it works is there's inevitably that moment where you're like, oh shit, I got so distracted by that thing that I forgot about the main practice. I forgot about about the mind. And that moment when you're like, oh wait, oh shit, I was meditating, I was working out, I was eating right, I was sober.
When did you first get interested in like self-reflection and awareness? Because you started this, and when we were talking, you're like, we all have basically the same operating system. When we come out, and we have these brains, and they get overlaid with information, all that, and as if it's a not software, but like this is the hard complex that we're born from, that we have as an operating system, right? However, you can control how aware you'd like to be. Right, by putting your interest and curiosity towards things, and not everybody does that.
Right,
and so in that way, we're very disadvantaged if we don't. And what was it that prompted you? I mean, so my thing is, are we all different people in a way. Why are some people so interested in looking at themselves and overcoming themselves and like, God damn it, please, I'm dying to get myself out of my own way type of thing. And I'll take all the responsibility. I'll do all the things. I'll do what, that want to raise their awareness versus people are like, things are pretty good, man. And I just went to Chipotle and just played baseball and I'm going home to watch Family Guy. Everything's great.
Yeah.
You know, I'm interested in what pushes people into seeking more or satiation.
It's the biggest question.
Because I've never had satiation ever.
It's like if you were a cell, we could reframe your question to, hey, why does it seem like some cells are dividing in weird ways that is causing like some pretty severe malignancies all over the organism? And some cells just want to divide in a way that allows the organism to be the most healthy. And it's this like ignorance is what it is. Because if the idea is that everybody just wants to be happy, everybody wants to connect with their highest self, everybody wants to feel love, and everybody wants to just feel at peace. And I think that's mostly true outside of like some people who are, I think, sick. I mean, when I say, so like people are like, no, not everyone wants that. You can't apply some universal to humans. Everyone's different.
There's like teen angst. There's stuff that you go, there's stages you go through and you get out of it though. And at the core, everybody would like to be useful and loved and what, et cetera.
Well, I think you could sum it up like if you're looking at like in general, there's always outliers. If I had a bowl of diarrhea, fresh, hot diarrhea.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about you. You're an outlier.
No, okay.
I can see the way you're reacting. But if I took this diarrhea and I went to 100 people and said, hey, would you like a spoonful of this diarrhea or would you like some ice cream? My hypothesis is that 100% ice cream over diarrhea. 100%. Yeah, and so this is because no one wants to eat shit. And a lot of people, they don't realize that they're eating shit.
Is the good thing.
They think it's because it's all they've ever, they were born and into a bowl of diarrhea.
It's like if everybody beats you up in your house, you think that Johnny's getting beaten up too next door. You're like, this is how houses are.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's like that Monty Python, The Holy Grail, that sketch where the prisoner's in the dungeon. I don't know if you remember this. And he spits in the other guy's face. He's like, oh, spit in your face. He must really like you. You know, how lucky you are to get spit. It's like that, where it's like people, the thing they're doing that to others might seem deplorable or so obviously
a microaggression.
Yeah,
maybe.
All of it. It's just they're like, that's literally the best they could do,
right?
Because they haven't seen that. Like, look, time is bigger than the 5 minutes surrounding you, and
the events aren't that big a deal.
Yes.
Also, all my heartbreaks, all my failures, all that stuff. It's like none of that shit was real. That was all a manifestation of my mind. I would be the architect of a disaster in the future that would never occur. Right? This is going to be the end of it. And it's like, that was one of the big things. It's like, none of that stuff is true. Keep walking forward. Don't lose your fucking goal. You know? I mean, those are the things that were distractions. I remember throwing a guy and fucking twisting and my knee went bam and the whole gym stopped. And by the time we hit the ground, we're in motion. I thought everything is over. This fight's over. Everything is over right now. And like that shit wasn't true. Or this business deal is going to happen with Caveman or something like that. And this is going to be easy street. And it's like, no, man, it's the same as all my spiritual practices, Duncan, is it comes down to like, just keep turning the knob and you can only turn the knob so far every day. There's a limit in what you can do. So you just go turn the knob every day. Don't leave a day without the knob not being turned, but go in there and just turn the knobs every day, Tate, and fucking, and stay true to the thing that you're doing. And, that's been the biggest lesson for me. A guy asked me last weekend, he goes, what do you do? What would be advice you would give your younger self? Right. And I thought about it for a while. I thought, well, here's some cheat codes, right? I'll know the lotto ticket by the time you're 19 or whatever. But I just thought, what would I say? I would say something to lessen the hardship of my life. That wouldn't be doing me any favors right now because those hardships are what grew character. They're what grew resiliency.
Yeah.
like, and perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like through that, I like through me being abused ever or oppressed ever or lifted up ever, I know about those experiences, and then I can relate to, and I can go, ooh, they have it worse than that. I have this nuance of discernment, which most people don't have. They look at judgment, they say, don't judge, and they go from there. They don't look any deeper into how useful judgment is, how we need that. We need this heightened sense of discernment. And so I look at that and I think, what would I tell a younger self? And I think I would just say to try harder and to don't be scared to start sooner. Like I used to think, well, at a certain place, you're not an adult until a certain thing, or you wouldn't be available to do. It's like, no, do all the fucking things and jump in, man. Cover yourself in experience, drown in experience, man.
Cause you can't, I love what you're saying, man. Like my son, it's like, well, this boy is so beautiful and I love him so much that now when I think about the time machine idea, it's like, fuck that. I'm not doing anything.
Right. I wouldn't alter this.
I'm not going back. I'm not going back to tell myself when I'm playing World of Warcraft not to put the fucking computer on my fucking lap, that you're going to maybe get testicular cancer. Because anything that I change at all could potentially make it so this being didn't come into the universe. That is the most amazing being I ever saw in my life. And so this is but when you're now that doesn't have to be a baby.
Right.
It could be, it's your business. It's your friendship.
Certainly.
It's your community. It's where you're at. But when you're in the turbulent area before you get some manifestation of good karma, then it can seem as though everything's falling apart because you don't realize, oh no, you're getting sculpted right now. You're not getting destroyed. Something's breaking and chipping, and like you're the one who's like having to deal with the fact that as long as you've got that particular chip in your rudder, so to speak, your fucking boat's going to go in circles. And until you just admit it's not the ocean, it's not anybody else in any other boat, it's not the wind, even though maybe that's part of it. First, change the fucking rudder. You have a chip in your rudder. You have your rudder's warped. So your boat is like always going to the 180 degrees. It's turning, you're going in circles, 360 degrees. So that like, first that, and then that starts here, and then but as long just by shifting over from victim to sculpture, realizing you're not a victim, you're being sculpted, you're being taught, you signed up for this.
Is this thing taking from me, or is it making me stronger? That's a good question to ask. It's important to know that.
Yeah.
Am I becoming anti-fragile, as like Nassim talks about? Like, whereas like when I take the tumble down the steps, am I not only unbroken, that wouldn't be anti-fragile, but am I stronger for the experience?
Yeah, man.
Right? And that's what life is built to make us. That's the right way.
Yeah.
But we shrink from that because that's the opposite of comfort, which we're kind of pushed in, I think, through advertisements and corporatocracy, really, to seek comfort everywhere. And that is the same as seeking disaster for a life.
Dude, you will never hear coming out of the TV on some public station, you're never going to hear like Sean Hannity, or you're never going to hear like a reporter or a commercial say, you need water. You need a lot of water and outside the sun, and just try not to eat so much sugar.
Right.
And if you do that long enough, you're going to feel so good. Bye. Nobody wants to hear that.
Or like go break yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm walking with Harrison, right? Harrison's my friend. He just died, I don't know, a couple months ago, 94 years old. Beautiful dude. But I would go and I would take him out. I was like, well, fuck, we can be fitter than we are. And so we would go and we would squat and we would move. I'd make him start on the floor, and I would go, okay. And I taught him a 6 simple step movement of how to roll to your side, draw your knees up, roll over onto all fours, get elevated, grab a chair, stand up. And we would go through a thing because I go, you're going to fall down and nobody's going to be there, bro. And then we would go for walks with the dog park, and there'd be a little hill upright. And he would start, and you hear a 130-pound, 94-year-old man start to, like, this could be it right now. I could be carrying back a corpse. And we pushed into that like that. But he would push into his own death that way. And he would walk back after we would do whatever activity, and he would be upright, and he would be more alive. He'd be more a man. as opposed to this withering decay. And it just fortified him. And I thought, yeah, you push into your fucking death a little bit every day so you can push death off and say, maybe tomorrow, you know? And he did that for all those years until he's 94. Like a G, man. I didn't meet him until he was like 91.
Wow.
So I don't know him for a long time, but I know the kind of heart that guy, I mean, coming out of World War II, coming out of Detroit in the 20s, like the whole, I mean, it's an amazing, amazing story, but it just shows me more and more throughout time. It's like you build resiliency, man. You go in and take in the horrific thing, learn to get comfortable where other people say no. Then you're useful, man, because other people won't.
That's right.
They won't work that hard.
But that's also, you know, that's freedom.
And that's freedom. Exactly.
That's true freedom.
Right.
Because it's like, you know, people could have, we all, most of us, many of us have so much autonomy in the sense that you can like get up, you can leave where you're at, you can walk through the streets.
I count on opening the faucet and the water comes out.
Yeah.
I count on the water's provided to me. All that. Yeah.
Autonomy. That's, but a lot of people don't realize that they're not free at all. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because they have so many conditions that have to be met before they allow themselves to be happy. They need hot water in the shower. That's one, man. They've got to have instantaneous access to water that's been heated before they're like happy. And by them, I mean me. Mm-hmm. I've been like in a hotel where I had a show and the like water wasn't getting hot. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? This is bullshit. What kind of...
I've got a lot riding on this.
Yeah, the history of the world. Up until, I don't know when hot water became instantaneously accessible to at least people in the West. But the history of the world is you had to find a river or a well.
And it wasn't going to be warm.
And if you wanted to heat it up, it's going to take a little bit of time.
And fire.
You got to start a fire. There's all this shit. And so it's like, I'll just take a cold shower. And you just did it. So that one, the moment you get to that point where you can look at the shower faucet and you could look and you turn the shower to ice cold, which I do. And I watch myself go from, okay, this is going to be it, to like, you know what, maybe not today. You know what I mean? To like, okay, and you look at your hand and you push through and then you're like, fuck it. Oh,
so great. So great. And you know what else is great?
What?
You go deeper and you go, you know what? I'm just here facing this goddamn cold water torrent. I'm going to lift my arms up over my head and I'm going to get under my armpits. Oh, yeah. And all that skin in your rib, and it's like, that's colder than cold. That and just to really give yourself
and your
to that.
Back, your asshole.
I've been doing heat and cold therapy with this girl, Kimmy Moss, she worked out of Laird's place and Laird Hamilton, and they do a lot of that kind of stuff, but like 220 degree sauna for 20 minutes and then like a 34 degree ice bath for 3 minutes. And then back and forth, and you got to come with me someday.
I would love to.
It's so fantastic.
Let's do that.
Okay.
My experiments in just cold water
and a lot of breath work. She'll teach us a lot of breath work on the beginning too.
But can it kill you? Like cold water? There's
everything.
Never been,
life is going to kill us.
But is there?
We're going to go there to live, Duncan.
I know to live, but I mean, I know. But here, this is my question for you because this really has crossed my mind. And I know it's bullshit, but I just want...
My mom's 72. She did it with me last week.
I don't mean your hell sauna that I'm going to go to. I'm talking about... Or heaven sauna. I'm talking about... This is how neurotic I am. Yeah. My mind will tell me, prior to turning the water all the way to ice cold...
Yes.
You could have a heart attack from this.
You could.
No.
100%.
From cold water?
I think when I go for a jog, I'm getting a cancer tumor in my back. I mean, the pussy inside of you is so strong, it will scream all kinds of lies to you about how this is going to be.
But no one's died from a cold shower.
I don't know. I'm sure you can find a metric, right? There's outliers everywhere. Who knows? I don't give a shit because I'm a goddamn resilient American and I'm going to get in there like a G and I'm going to come out stronger on the other side of it. And if it kills me, God bless them. God bless them for being able to kill me for all the efforts I put to that end.
Or you're going to die. I guess the way to look at it is this. Okay, sure.
You look into it and you go, I hope I die. And then fucking dig in, Duncan. God damn it.
Well, I mean, I don't want my son
to
grow up with his mom being like, your father was so weak.
Would you rather think that my father, he so shrunk from life when it encountered him that he's still safe and here with us? Or my father went out and fucking raged against life and he showed me how to stand up straight until the very day he died.
I love that, except he's 4 months
Maybe
old.
There's more options.
And honestly, like, if so, like, I want, when someone's like, hey, how did your dad pass?
Yes.
If you have to pick, I want to be like, oh yeah, he was hiking, a bear came out, and he basically like got in this
He killed the first bear. The second one he couldn't handle, though. He's just diminished by that point.
The second bear he managed to gouge its eyes out.
He broke 3 eyes, but
he wasn't able to. He couldn't. He died in the hospital. You mean the bear killed him? He's like, no, he died from over fucking because he fucked that bear so long. Yeah. But what I'm saying is the thing I don't want my son to say is like, oh yeah, my dad, he took a cold shower and it stopped his heart.
We got to get you more resilient. If we're in danger of that right now, we got to turn up the volume a little bit. Because I don't want that to happen either.
But how interesting is it, Tate, that all of these things, for example, this is nothing to be proud of, but we only have one car. And I'm not getting my own car because I ride my bike to work. And I love riding my bike to work. And when I ride my bike
What about in the wintertime, though, Duncan?
In L.A.? Oh, you're joking. The cold will kill me, Tate. One drop of cold water and I'm down.
I understand.
But isn't it interesting that all of the things that are not comfortable at first, not only do they help you physically, like if you start climbing, you're going to get in shape. If you start riding your bike to work, you're going to lose weight. If you stop drinking, you're going to lose weight. If you start taking cold showers, you're going to feel your immune system's going to get better. But also, all these activities simultaneously help the planet.
Right.
If you stop driving,
interesting.
Isn't that seems to
the
be
way
a
it happens? Our
correlation.
biosphere on the outer biosphere is encouraged also. That's beautiful.
Isn't that weird? Like comfort is not only potentially.
I think of it like this.
Yeah,
we're adaptable, right? We're the most. I mean, maybe besides rats or roaches or something, we're the biology with the most adaptation out of any organism alive.
Yeah,
like we are.
Yeah.
We are that
walking evolution, living transformative evolution.
And so in that, I'm so arrogant also, or self-centered, that I think that on a planet that varies 100 degrees on any given day anywhere geographically, that I should be comfortable all the time, right?
Yes.
We put golf courses in the desert.
Yeah.
And then we cry about that there's a drought there.
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck's going on in Arizona?
Yeah.
Like what? Why you got all the golf courses then? Because I'm confused now. And so when looking at like all those kinds of things about like, here's what it is. My idea in my life and what I see to be helpful is that the more I push adaptation in my life, whether it's muscle growth, spiritual growth, intellectual growth, like whatever, the more I push into adaptation into unknown from what is known,
yes,
the better off I am as an organism.
Yes.
And that's the same you're talking about with cold water. The more I become accustomed to these things that are outside of I can adapt and I can overcome and achieve. And in that, I get resilient and strength. We're all looking for like, I heard if you drink a gallon of water, it'll kill you. Well, let's guzzle a gallon of water and let's see. I mean, because that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, and so like to push into those hard edges and to find that adaptation, it just makes me, less fragile, which makes me more useful and more available for my people around me and less distracted about shit that doesn't matter. It's like, no, a bug bite's not going to kill you. Let's keep going. We got to get to water or whatever.
More free.
It's more free. It's
and the
real
more
freedom.
Free you are, the happier you become. Naturally.
That's the other thing, Duncan, is that happiness I used to think all the time was a fucking thing. They're just happy. I had no idea how hard people worked for happiness.
Yeah.
I just had no idea. I was just I just thought less about it.
Yeah.
People fight for happiness.
When it's hard. It's like if you take someone, I mean, just think how easy it is to be miserable when you're sitting in a middle seat in the back of a plane and, someone's shoulders are...
From New York to California.
You're getting blown
250
with farts.
pounds.
And 2 inches.
You don't have farts in you to battle back. That's the worst.
You can't do
I don't mind if somebody farts, but if I got no farts in me...
So you're compressed in this situation, but if you suddenly... All you need to do... You add 6 inches of leg room, 2 inches on the side, and suddenly it's the best flight of your life. So every time... You realize like, wait, I don't need hot water to enjoy a shower. That's a permanent shift in your life. You are no longer compressed by that need because the need is painful. That's the main thing is like, for me, anytime
The need takes me out of the experience.
Yeah.
Is what I
It
find.
hurts.
Is that it takes me out and I have pain because I'm looking to seek my comfort. When I take the conversation out about seeking comfort, like, because it can change 5 degrees and now I'm seeking a new comfort. If I take that chasing the comfort out of the conversation, now I'm here for the experience. It doesn't matter if the temperature varies a few degrees or if it drizzles. I'm here in the experience.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to run from my lack of comfort.
Yeah.
My idea of comfort has changed. You know?
You're at this point. You're like, if you can get in your Uber or you can get in your friend's car, and they start playing some kind of music that drives you fucking up the wall, and instead of being driven up the wall, you could just enjoy that music too.
Right.
That's freedom. Right. Freedom is not being like, can you change that?
Dude, I can't believe you're not playing Back in Black, dude. What the fuck's wrong with AC/DC, bro?
Yeah. When you're hanging out with your girl, or you're hanging out with your boyfriend, and they want to watch something,
right,
and you don't want to watch it, but
it's so nice because right now I literally don't care. I don't care where we eat or what we watch. If I'm with you, my goal is being with you. You know, it's like that.
Yes, I get that from you, man.
Yeah.
That to me is like one of the things that's so magnetic about you, Tait, is like you are such a yes person. It is amazing. It's amazing, and like you don't just get to be a yes. You don't get to be that. And I don't mean yes person as in you. I know
what you mean.
I mean yes in the sense of like you are not in a constant struggle trying to arrange the phenomena around you to suit what you think you need, because you seem to have figured out a way to enjoy yourself most of the time. Now, I don't know what you're like when you get home. I don't know what you like. We all have shadowy glitches.
For a while, I thought, well, if the external's not right, then I'm not right. And I thought, what a slave and a prisoner I am in that outlook, right? And so then I thought, well, okay, so Tait, like the first time a guy told me, hey, look up the word serenity, you know, and I'm reading this book, Search for Serenity. I carry a 45 everywhere I go, and he's like, do you see the problem here, Tait? You're looking for serenity, and you're scared of everything, so that you're armed. Like, this is an insanity that you live in, right? And at that point, I started looking at it, and I go, just because there's chaos amidst my life, all about, does that change the internal balance? And so how do I get my internal balance right so that I'm not, tipped this way or that way by external pressures? And like that was one of the things that because it's like being a prisoner. And it was the same with cigarettes for me. I'm like, I just don't want to be a slave to this thing. I don't want to be a prisoner. I'm not available when I'm a prisoner. And if I'm to fucking live, which I didn't want to live, and sometimes I still don't, if I'm to live, I don't want to live as a fucking prisoner, man. I want to live as a free, expressed human, because to not be expressed gives me cancer.
Yeah, man.
And so like, what can I do to make sure that I hold the standard for myself like that? Because nobody else will. People will look to seek comfort everywhere. You have to you're in a war against society, and maybe even those parts they're just in they're in a salesmanship position.
Yeah.
Just trying to sell you comfort, bro. I don't mean anything bad by it. To me, It's almost like the Nazis are coming over the hill and I got to gun them down. It's like when I see salesmen like that, because I'm like, I don't want your comfort. Your comfort is fucking cancerous for me. And so I want to be very careful. Like, it's like this dude told me a long time ago. He says, you can do whatever you want in life, Tait, as long as you pay the price. You got to be willing to pay the price. And you better know what the fucking cost is, because even if it looks awesome, there's a cost to that. Oh, did you fall in love and it's great? Good. The cost could be all your friends. The cost could be you going after your dream job and going, well, no, this is nice too, like this. And I'll start. And so it becomes a real question like that. I mean, in my partners in Caveman, Lacey and Keith, is the same. That, like, we go through those questions. It's like we've all chosen to lead our lives in certain ways, and it's like it changes relationships and the ideas of when you're going to start a family or any of those things, because it's like we have bigger fish to fry right now that we need to get after, and that could cost the whole thing that we've been trying to build right now. And so, like, even though it's a beautiful thing, like, and not that that's a thing that's in the works or something.
Are you telling me that Caveman Coffee employees are not allowed to fall in love?
Right, you can't fall in love. You can't have goodness in your life.
How do you measure that? What do you have, you have some kind of satanic meter when they come in? Like
it's just a crystal on a string, and you just and the way it moves, you'd have to be trained.
Guilty of love,
guilty of love.
Too many good times.
Well, it's
No, but it's like to what I do, what I allow to distract me. I can't have everything. I can't be a greedy kid that's just like, I want that, I want that, I want that. Some of those things that I want cost the other thing. Now fucking tell me which one's more important. Which one do you have to take? Which one must you take care of? Because the other thing is I didn't want to create noise in the system. And I see people do that they do it with kids, for God's sakes, let alone whatever else they make. And it's like,
what do you mean noise in the system?
Noise in the system, like, you created a coffee company, or you created something, and then it just went into dust, and nothing ever came of it. Or you created a podcast that you just say, and it doesn't really go anywhere, and you don't really care if it affects people in a positive way. Or it's like, did you write a beautiful piece of graffiti on the wall that like is real art that people could go, fuck, and they're kind of transformed by seeing that? Or did you just scribble your name and fucking cross out somebody else's like a dickhead? It's like, that's noise, that's art. It looks like writing on the wall, but it's different, right?
I gotcha.
And I think that it's like, are you just here to create noise in the system? Because what is that? That's attention seeking. And that's really what, you hear guys like Gary Vee, who's got a lot of great things to say, and he's like, content, push it out there, get it out there. If you're fucking 19, please don't do that. If you're 26, don't do that. Get some experiences before you push the content out, because you'll be embarrassed about what you did and who you're making yourself to be by pretending that these things are important.
Yeah.
You're going to go ahead and alter your character in a way that could disease your future self. It's fucking dangerous to have all this voice and not merit the fucking opinion.
Yeah,
it's dangerous.
My friend who teaches me meditation says it's like you don't want to start taking withdrawals. You don't want to start taking loans from your future self. Don't start borrowing from your future self. It's a bad practice to get into. And that's how karma, that's basically what happens when shitty things are happening to you that are definitely your fault. And you really look at like when karma is reaching its fruition. So suddenly you're like dealing with the fact that whatever, you're like the doctor. And I'm not, I don't want to.
Is karma not the end state of cause and effect? Is it not the effect part? Or in that system, or is it outside of that system?
It gets broken down to the most it gets broken down in the most like, what's the granular way? So it's like there's different sorts of karma, right? So there's karma. First of all, the number one thing is like you can not stop generating karma, number one. So it's like in the same way that if
there's no retirement.
There's no way to stop ripples in the water if you're swimming. You can't swim without ripples. You might be able to like make it so that there's a way you swim where you're barely affected, but no matter what, you're going to make some kind of ripples. Any movement you make, anything you do, you're impacting the universe around you, no matter how little that move. Even if you stop moving, you're going to impact the universe probably more than if you do move. Because people are like, he's catatonic. What the fuck? Now we've got to like get him in a hospital. So basically karma works like there's the shit happening in the present moment to you right now. Like, so because I must have done something right in my interactions with you, I get to have you in my life. And I get to have you sitting in front of me, inspiring me and having this great conversation. So here is karma happening, which is like I have a person I look up to who's my friend that I can like model things that I want to improve in my own self. I can model that by looking at you in the same way you looked at the bouncer, so to speak. So that's karma happening. And then the place we're in that we can't talk about, unfortunately, because of NDAs, similarly, I get to be here because of karma. And also, similarly, my feet hurt because I didn't get orthopedics over the course of a long time. I have like flat feet, or like I'm overweight. I'm always at like 6 to 8 pounds overweight.
Great.
Thank you, brother.
You look great.
Been riding my bike quit trip, but still I'm not beating myself up.
Of course, but this is the effect of what your previous life has done. It brought me with this.
Yeah,
present.
Just you can look down at your body and like that's called I know what I was doing. I know I went through a period when my wife was pregnant where I was buying these fucking ice cream sandwiches.
That's what you should do. That's the right move.
Drinking booze, and like it's not a miss. So that's. But also, there's other karmas. So there's this like the things that are kind of like the meteorite that's far away from the subjective planet you are, that's on a direct collision course with you, that's karma that's coming. So that's rising karma, right? And everyone, unfortunately, has that too.
Is it soon?
Well, it varies. It could be
Can't wait.
So at that point, you become the alchemist, because the moment you start turning your meteorites into pull-up bars, so to speak, the moment your apocalypses become gems.
Ooh, that's a great way to say that.
Yeah. Then now you've like become like something else than a victim. You're not a victim anymore, because now it's more like
Now you're a god. You're in creation.
your universe has gone from being a minefield to being the most sophisticated, advanced training facility in the known universe. You could almost say that you've been invited into a kind of
That's fucking beautiful,
God
Duncan.
training simulator, and you're getting a chance to like.
That's what it is. Is it not that? Is that not what we're doing?
I mean, this is one of the descriptions. Is it's a university.
It's beautiful.
It's
That's neat, man. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, because you think it's like we have the term universe,
Yeah.
and then you have university. We're in it. We're in the
Earth School.
Earth School, yeah. And then in the moment that shift happens, I think you enter into a different dimension. Because for me, one thought experiment I like to do, because when it rains, I take an Uber. When I'm being fucking lazy, I take an Uber instead of riding my bike. But I like when I take the Uber to do a thought experiment where I think the Uber driver is the Buddha. And I'm lucky enough that on this day, the Uber driver is coming to teach me as the Buddha pretending to be an Uber driver. And sure as shit, man, when I just by that switch, man, I've had Uber drivers teach me, like show me like music I've never heard of before, talk to me about like Buddhism in a way I've never heard about it talked, all this stuff.
Gives me scope of the world. I can't not talk to cabbies and Uber drivers to the point where if Jardine gets in a cab, I didn't know what he was doing at first, but we spent like a few weeks in New York together, and he'd start his camera, he's fiddling, and he's not a camera guy. He's not a phone guy. He starts fiddling with his phone every time we get in the cab. And like second or third trip, I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm just recording all these conversations you have with the cabbies. Cause I'm just fucking, I get so curious and interested. And then I get to get a whole view of what Uganda is like.
Yeah.
Which I don't have any idea of, and it's like these guys, when you start out with where are you from, the kind of beautiful ideas when you're curious about somebody's life, and those guys teach. I mean, it is. It's not unlike the Buddha. Every car I get in, it's beautiful like that. That's nice. I'm glad I'm not the only one having conversations like that.
Well, I think that is the truth. Is they are the Buddha, and then so this is when you start playing with that concept of like going from.
And is that in how you're honoring them? Also, you're allowing that because you're. It's like when we treat people like their highest selves, we don't allow them to act beneath themselves, right? And so in this way, we do a huge honoring when we honor somebody else's higher. It's really something I really try to be good at, because I'm so shitty at like looking at somebody and going, they're doing it dog shit. And to get that voice out of my, it's like, this is such a nice alternative, which I need in order to supplant the more negative side.
Well, and then when you add to it that just doing that mind shift is a form of like, hyperdimensional travel.
I love that
idea.
idea.
You do that, and you can say shit like hyperdimensional, not even knowing what it means, just because it sounds cool. But the moment you start like, okay, I'm literally going to enter into the Buddha field today, and every single person I encounter is the Buddha, and they're being so merciful to me because they have all agreed to act in these, like, to do the most incredible character acting of all time, which is some of them are going to act like my enemy, some of them are going to act completely ambivalent, and some of them are going to act like they love me, some of them are going to act like my son, some of them are going to act like my wife, and they're all doing this to help raise me into awareness. And the moment you do that and you allow yourself the acting exercise of really living in that world, then suddenly magic starts happening. It's not like I'm going to pretend you're the Buddha. It's not I'm going to pretend you're awakened. I'm going to pretend you're advanced.
I'm going to behave into this.
It's like I'm seeing this. I know who you are. You are the Buddha. You are the Christ. You have come and you've incarnated around me in the form of a society. And I'm sorry I'm a slow learner. But teach me, please. Please allow me to bow to you, even though the bowing or my show of respect to you is going to be convoluted by my own neurosis and ego shit, and I'm not able to fully bow to you because I still feel like I'm a little superior in this way or that way. Once you start doing that, whoa, man, the world, it's almost like for a second you will be in Shambhala.
Well, it's like you ask people to step out of the material world. When I've been prescient enough to do something like that, it's an invitation into a spiritual realm.
Yeah.
Where there's higher stakes that feel like ease and comfort in the way that we can express them in these ways that we wouldn't express them otherwise, because we're like, they'll think I'm weird or whatever we put on that.
Yeah.
I think it's a fascinating. I like those kinds of things. It's like this thing of leave everybody with a gift that I like doing, like this idea about leave them with a thank you or with an actual gift, or even if it's just like walking by somebody like, oh, that was a nice hat he had on. Like leaving something with a positive gift, even if it's just echoed inside my own chest, because a lot of times the voice is, oh, that fucking guy, I wonder what he's doing. Or like, and I'll have that thing where I'm suspicious or where I'm trying to, think of some, what could the threat be that this person might pose? Like to try to be devoid of all that stuff. And that's one of the beautiful things. I went and spoke at this thing called Summer Strong last week. And it's this thing this group Sorenex puts on. And it's fucking like 700 invited only people that come to this thing. It's like a big barbecue, weightlifting, this and that. And I was like, it's such a gift to be around super strong and able people in a way. It's the same way jiu-jitsu gives me in that way, is that when you are afforded strength, when you've built strength and amassed resiliency, there's no kinder people.
Right.
Because there's no axe to grind. I'm not trying to posture or position or this or that. We're all here in the try, and we've all found it better if we're loving and kind with one another. Like, what a fucking great way to be, And there's those societies that are right here, right next to the society, when you're working at wherever, that is like, no, the assistant managers are dickhead to me, and the fucking, and whatever, when you're working at Best Buy or whatever the thing is, there's that reality, but there's a whole nother reality in your same city that's also operating by these different rules, by this different ethos kind of, right?
That's
and
right.
you can walk into cultures that have been built like that. And that's one of the beautiful things about strength, about gyms, about like meditation areas and,
Masonic temples,
all of these things, all of those places where we come to get beyond ourselves. We're looking for something. Let us touch the gods in some kind of way.
Yeah.
We're not looking for dissimilar things.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And those places, when you start looking at those places as outflow ducts for paradise, that are like, people go into those places as one thing and they come out with a like little bit of perfume on them from something that people are like, what's that smell?
Yeah.
What's going on there? Like, for example,
And the person's maybe unaware that they've transcended a little bit.
well, yeah, usually because it's not, it doesn't happen all at once. It can't happen all at once. Nothing happens all at once. Thank God.
Right.
We have this wonderful experience of time right now, which is limited, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, but we do have this, we get to experience time right now. So things don't happen all at once. But, when I had to reschedule the podcast with you a few times and this podcast because of this thing I'm doing. And like, every time I did it, you were so open and so cool with it, right? And kind of just that really like inspired me. And because I started like taking that attitude and thinking like, what is that? This thing he's doing, which is so sweet and so authentically giving and compassionate to my situation. And I'm thinking, man, this makes me feel so good. And it makes me love him more.
But that's just a reflection of you, man.
Well, but that's the impact that you start having on people, where suddenly you're.
But I couldn't be that without you. Also, that's the impact you have on me. I mean, there's this synergy of that in that way because I couldn't but I also know your attention to discipline and all these things and like. Your hierarchy of needs and what they are. Like, I respect you and your process to such a great degree. And I've known you now, for over decades.
Yes.
Like we're looking at like time and I see you, so how else could I be but that in that way?
That's cool, man.
I mean,
but this is where you end up. I think you end up experiencing a continuum with your friends or your life. And when you realize that continuum is one where you look around, your friends are successful and are healthier, you realize like, oh, cool. There's some kind of ascent happening here.
Right.
And there's something really beautiful in that. And then when you see that maybe one of your friends is something's they're amiss, then there's a way to like maybe help pull them into the dimension that you're currently in. And that by that I mean like the part of the multiverse where you're beginning to wake up a little bit, which everyone is to some degree. Yeah. So this is the spiritual community. This is the whatever it is that you're doing.
What's interesting too that I noticed, and if somebody's listening, like what I find, because a lot of people are looking for things. You and I are fortunate men in 1,000 ways, and we don't have enough time to enumerate those things. And I know you, like I know that's true, and that you feel that way. But in this too, I think about our group of friends in common that we have. And it's the same in groups in jiu-jitsu or in MMA world to me, or in CrossFit or in all these in different endeavors, whatever it is. Writing, if you got a group of core people, it's self-selecting, guys. And so the thing is to the degree that you're in the game of life, you're in the flow, well, then you're in that group. And the minute that I step out of that flow and I go, you know what, I'd like to rest on my laurels, which I'd like to do a lot of the time.
Me too.
I'd like to sit idle.
Yeah.
I'm no longer in the conversation with you or Rogan or Ari or Brian or anybody because I've chosen to be out of the flow.
Yeah.
Right. And then I go, oh, and I'm lonely and I'm alone and it's like, I chose that. And so this ultimate responsibility of really fucking taking full accountability for my life is like, I choose my misery or my happiness by the kind of work and action that I'm willing to put out. And I love this phrase this guy always would remind me. He says, you can't think your way into right action, but you can act your way into right thinking. And that kind of thing, it's like, this is self-selecting based upon my behaviors, And so I think you can get in the stream anywhere. And if there doesn't seem to be a stream where you're at, fucking make a stream, build one. Because the one thing that really bums me out when I hear on the internet and I see a thing and like, I've got some friends that are Tempest free runners. And these guys at Tempest are the best free runners. They're the best parkour guys and trickers in the world. They're fantastic. And I posted a video of them once and somebody from my hometown was like, dude, where the fuck were guys like that when we were kids? How awesome would that have been? And instantly I'm fucking, where the fuck are you right now for the kids around you, you cocksucker? If you see this to be a valuable thing that was lacking for you and you don't try to create that for others, you're a certain type of motherfucker.
Yeah.
And so in this thing, it's like, as we grow, right? I age out of youth. It just happens,
Yeah.
All these motherfuckers going, when are you going to grow up? Well, unfortunately, it just occurs, or fortunately.
Yeah.
But then here you are. But like, how have you developed yourself up until that growth? And now, what is it that people want? They, connection and love and like, and it starts out as like, I want pussy or I want dick or I want this sexual euphoria. I want bliss. And you get all that stuff. And then you're like, okay, where does it all go? Or what do I do with it? And to get more of that stuff, I want to be a better baseball player, or I want to do the shot put better, or I'll be a good violinist. And then I'll get more of the good stuff that brings me bliss and all that kind of thing. And then as you get older and you're like, okay, I don't need to come 14 times a day in order to stay sane or whatever now. And all my biology is getting calmer.
Yeah.
Like, what choice is it to go out and drive? What is it then if it's not this heightened, like conquering kind of energy, right? That's out there.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I got to get my show to Netflix before this next guy does, because if he drops his first, maybe they're not going to want mine.
Right.
Or whatever. The scarcity comes in, all the evils come, the devil, the hell starts to come into our lives. Unless I become helpful.
That's it.
And so either I can become dominating and shitty to people around me and be like, yeah, you can't do it that way because of whatever. Or I can be a dude that's like, oh man, here's a way that I shave some time off of that. Or I become helpful as a guidepost to somebody coming behind me because they're going to be better than me. That's how evolution works. But I can help them meet their goals in a better way. And we can have synergy of time and distance and bring that temporal plane to a useful interaction between new and old.
Yeah,
right?
man.
And I think maybe there's something in that's like, maybe that's where our place is in life now a little bit. And that's why I've been more paying attention to the podcast and going, no, this is something this is a discipline that you need to keep, and that this is going to continue on, because if nothing else, it's telling a story of hope to somebody else. And if you've fucking gone and you stood in the darkness, you got a responsibility to show people that it's way lighter on the other side, no matter how dark it is right now where you're at, that there's fucking light that's going to crack open any fucking moment, and it's going to bring you an awareness that's way bigger and richer than you had previous to the darkness.
Sure.
And we need those stories to come back.
That's it. And that, what you just said is actually how it gets described. Like, one of the ways I've heard enlightenment described is like, it's literally like turning on a light. Like turning on a light. You just turn on a light. It's not like the darkness is like as a fog or whatever. But when you turn on the light, it's like, oh shit, I could see for a second. And oh my God, that's what that was. Yeah. That thing I kept bumping into. Oh, I thought that was, oh shit, that was a structure inside of me that I wasn't able to see. I thought that was in somebody else. And then you start realizing all the edges you've been banging your shins on that you thought were in something, it was you. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere in there's freedom. But what I want to go back to what you said, which is a binary. And I hate putting out like, when here's an easy solution, because there isn't an easy solution. You do have to, unfortunately, do repetitive things over time to experience change.
Simple but not easy.
Simple but not easy. But the simple binary is the moment you flip the switch from serving yourself to trying to help, as clumsy and like unsuccessful as that attempt to help other people may be, the light turns on. That seems to be the light switch. When it's off, you're being selfish. Mm-hmm. When it's on, you're helping. It's as simple as that. And it seems like if this is some kind of trans-dimensional university for fledgling gods, that the lesson that we're being taught, or goddesses, the lesson we're being taught is don't be selfish. Mm. And the way we're being taught the lesson is the same way you teach any baby. The same way as you've got to let the baby figure out how to roll on their own.
Right.
You can't push our son is learning how to roll, and watching him, he hasn't figured out, he's got to get both his arms up and to roll, because otherwise the other arm, it sticks him. Right. So it's like, you watch him and you watch how hard he's trying.
It's gotta be frustrating for you as a father to watch and not help, and like,
you can't help, and
you should have just named him Struggle. Sorry, Struggle
Trussell.
Good luck, bud.
That's the worst name. But you know what I'm saying? That is pretty much a very simple predicament he's in, but one that he's got to figure out on his own, or he's never going to be able to roll. And I think that as above, so below, if that's the way it happens with a baby, that still continues now, which is that we are clearly being taught something here. And what we're being taught is, if you're selfish, you're going to be in hell. And if you're selfless, in the sense that you're getting out, you're letting your former idea of who you are go bye-bye, it's like a blindfold comes off. It's almost like we are a
freedom. Yeah, like what you've been saying, a freedom.
And so then now suddenly it's like and
it's your job then. If you get your torch lit in the fucking dark cave of life.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're born into fucking pain. I mean, we have a lot of platitudes about a universal spirit and soul, and that's a God shield around the world, and all of us are connected in that way in infinity. And for sure that's all true. For sure that's true. But also it's a war, and those same souls are trying to eat and leech you, and because they're at a different place in Earth School. And at the beginning grades, man, shit's fucking rough. Yeah. And it's ugly. And that's one reason you got to become resilient and strong.
Yeah, that's right.
Because there's a lot of fucking wolves out there that'll rip you apart. And as we're torn asunder, we're screaming, God, just take me. I'd rather be dead. Wow. And then we don't fucking die, and we learn to be strong. and this is our life.
You don't die.
And so then we're in this cave. Yeah. And we've got this torch. And fucking the thing is like, now, how do I let other people light off of my torch? And your torch has to be there, and it has to be non-judgmental and allow anybody to light off of it.
Yeah.
Because the things I hate about you or about whomever isn't you. It's the things that you're hiding from me. You act in ways that are funny, that are un-you, not you. And then I see that as bullshit. And like, why is he acting shady?
Yeah.
And we get all these differences when really the truth is that we are, as we started, similar to a degree that it's hard to comprehend even, you know? I mean, I've done things with groups of people before that are these submersive kind of experiences where you become telepathic almost. I mean, you can, and people talk about that in, I've heard of guys in wingsuits doing that, becoming telepathic. Like we're flying in wingsuits, one, behind the third, behind the fourth. And as the first is making the turn, if you started turning when you saw him turn, you're turning too late and you're going to be into the building.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's this unified thought that has to happen for this synergy of 4 different people to work as they're turning the corner in a building, you know? And in that same way, I believe that we have that capacity, but it's kind of like when I think about God, I think about like electricity. And I think 100 years ago, I shine a flashlight at you, you burn me at the stake. Like that's, seems crazy.
That's right.
You know, but maybe God's like that. Now, when we understand God more, we'll get a clearer picture of that. When we understand telepathy more in our own souls and how we are connected and so dissimilar, maybe we get to communicate in a more loving, useful way if we get to higher realms, if you will, or
And
something.
people think that, you know, everyone's like, well, you know, when the monkeys came out of the trees and started evolving, and it's like, yeah, you know what had to happen?
An alien came and fucked a monkey.
Well, before the alien came, the monkey had to get out of the fucking tree.
Yeah.
It's like the monkey had to do, there were monkeys who had to go to get out of the tree, and some of the monkeys died because the snakes are down there. But they had to do it for us to be these kinds of monkeys. And it's like people think, you think this process has stopped?
You know what I love?
What?
You watch the sea turtles and they hatch on the beach, right?
Yeah.
You want to see a fucking rugged thing? I mean, you watch the Battle of the Bulge. You watch a lot of these battles, whatever. That shit's horrible. D-Day, fucking awful. My friend Harrison I spoke of earlier, blown up on the shores of Italy and fucking left for dead by the fucking Nazis.
Yes.
Like, I mean, tens of thousands of men died on storming shore fronts, right? And you look at these little turtles that get born and the birds that pick them off, and they have to race to the water.
Yeah.
And 60% of them, 70% of them are going to die.
Yeah.
They're food. And they still have to go though. You have to go.
Yeah.
It might be you, but you have to go. Your brother might win. You got to go. And then, like this idea of like, it's not different than that. Like you got to go and get to the water. Now I don't know what the water is for a human. It's probably different for all of us, but this sense of like safety, but that's just getting in the game. It doesn't mean you're safe yet. That's just a place where, okay, I'm accessible. My fins work in this shit where they don't work on the sand. It's like now I'm in the game. There's still death all around me, but now at least I can take care of myself in a way that's better than I could before. And it's like there's that, like that's not unlike all of us. You know,
man.
that struggle to live.
Well,
it's fucking powerful, and it ain't something that you're just owed.
Think how good it feels to be a little sea turtle made for the ocean, who's just come out of a weird shell. You're on sand. It's great, but it's not what you're made for. And the moment you hit the water, that sense of like, oh, wow, right before the thing eats you.
And you're in a new universe.
Yeah, that's right. And this pattern is the pattern of awakening, which is that every single one of us is a baby sea turtle. And many of us have gotten frozen on the beach. And in that frozen state, we don't get picked off by seagulls. We're picking ourselves off.
You're indecisive, you die.
Yeah. And then there's that moment where suddenly you're like, whoa, everything is different. And everything feels so much better now. And the reason that is because now you're getting into the element that you're made for.
And I love the analogy because in that, it still doesn't mean you're done.
No.
You're just starting. It's like that thing when guys told me, oh, you've gotten to a black belt. Now the learning can begin. Now you know enough at black belt level to do base learning. Now you can start to learn, right? That's a crazy thing to tell somebody.
I interviewed Damien Eccles. He's this brilliant author. He was unfortunately like falsely confined to prison for a long time, but during that time he got all this disc, was brilliant. But one of the things he said that popped my brain was, oh, enlightenment in a lot of traditions is actually just the very first step. And then there's other stuff. And so it's like, what?
I believe that.
It's crazy. But the and also when you add to it that the idea that we're all sea turtles, that we've been incarnating here so much.
Well, it's crazy you think we're amphibious. Your son was breathing amniotic fluid
That
months ago. And then come out, boom, into a different universe.
Yeah.
And now also learn to breathe different. Now, go.
Yeah.
Heavy.
And if you add to that the concept of reincarnation,
Right.
which is the idea of like, oh man, you've been doing this so long, and it's not like reincarnation has nothing to do with like, oh, you're going to be born in the future. You could be born in the past. You could be born in an alternate universe completely. You could be born on another planet.
Yeah, we don't know enough about time really to understand that. Right?
Yeah, but you incarnate as a microbe.
Right.
You might as well be on another planet because that place is completely different than this place. But the stories of the Buddha are so cool because they talk about the various incarnations leading up to the moment of realization. And at some point, he just started giving himself to the world. So there's this, did I tell you the story of him as the prince and the tigers? One of the stories is like he was on a hunting trip and he looked over and he saw a mother, a tigress, and she didn't have milk because she was starving to feed her cubs. So he told like his servants, he's like, go, I'll catch up. And then he let the tigress eat him so that she could give milk to her cubs. Like she let himself get eaten by a tiger. And there's story after story after story where he began to realize that kind of what you're saying is like, fuck it, I'll just die.
Yeah.
And so he just started doing that in the most selfless way, which is like, oh, I'll just, I'll die.
Just give myself.
Here, I'll die. Oh, I'm more important. You're more important than your cubs are more important than me. I'm just a prince. You go ahead and eat me. And so that is when you start, if this is a simulation, then that's when you start like hitting some kind of new pitch because you've figured out, oh, I don't have to be afraid of death anymore. I keep doing this over and over, but every time I do it this time, I'm just going to give away everything. See what happens.
This guy that helped me infinitely, I could never repay. And I hadn't spoken to him before he died, but he had Hep C and he was given a liver by the time he was like 70. I knew him when he was like 50, And he said, he thought about it and he says, I've had a great life. I'm 70 years old. You give that liver to somebody that younger that can use it. And it's like, that reminds me of that kind of story. It's like, there's those heroes all around us, man.
That's the Buddha.
Yeah.
Because if we change the idea of like we reincarnate only in the future, the Buddha could have reincarnated in 2040 in one of his incarnations. That was the Buddha. Mm-hmm. You were in the presence of that being and you witnessed one of the great miracles, which is the moment someone puts their entire existence behind someone else's and doesn't do, because you know what you have to gain from that in this world? Nothing. You're not going to get any money for that. You're not going to get fame for that because you're going to die. And so, that is the most, those are considered the highest incarnations. I know someone who died helping a dog get off a train track. These things, that's what hopefully you aren't going to die. You don't have to do these extreme things, by the way.
But goddamn, if I do, let it be for something like that.
Yeah, man. And P.S., every time you do a thing that isn't selfish, that is for someone else, you do die in that moment. Because the self is gone.
Well, that's the one thing I think I hashtag seek death on a lot of things. And I think that's the idea of it is that, why would I undertake this if I'm not going to put my all into that, And I think of that in retrospect now, it puts a whole different filter on my relationship with John. When you say that, like that he was the Buddha and he put his whole self, because he did nothing short of that. He gave me his time. He gave me the most precious thing he had. And he gave me his moments and his time and his consideration, And that's an acknowledgement that I hadn't had in a long time,
Yeah.
And goddamn, man, it makes a difference.
And look at the ripples because we're all doing like the dive into oblivion, so to speak. It's not oblivion, actually.
Right.
It's a never-ending series of incarnations. But
I feel like it's diving into the hand of God.
Yeah,
it feels like you're diving into an abyss.
Yeah, but you relieve ripples in the time-space continuum. And in this sense, the ripples from your friends diving into the hands of God, the abyss, the ripples are you telling the story. And his particular moment of selflessness now ripples as long as there are podcasts and the ability
Yeah,
to
it
listen
matters.
to them. Yeah, these are his ripples from the way he was swimming. These are the ripples from his boat that has temporarily gone beyond the veil, but still the ripples happen here. And that's the idea, is like, we're just trying to make these ripples not be the kind of ripples that cause tsunamis and destruction.
Right.
But
That's
we're-
what John used to say. That he used to say, Tate, every man, he's standing on the edge of the universe and he's throwing pebbles in, and it causes ripples. And that's our job. We just stand on the banks and we throw pebbles in. And he says, and now the thing is that we don't know is that every time we throw, we're infusing each pebble with either destruction or growth. And so we're either upsetting other people's boats and waves and this and that, or we're looking for unity and to be deft and seamless in our integration into the universe, so that we're not upsetting other people's, and that our impact would be only good. Make those be your ripples, Tate.
he would be very proud of you, because those are the ripples that you're making.
Well, thanks, man.
How can people find you, sir?
Just my name, Tait Fletcher. You can. My company is Caveman Coffee. You can find me. I'm almost every action bad guy movie.
Wait, may I stop you for a moment?
Yeah.
I just have to say this, man. When you were asking for my address, I didn't know what it was for. I was excited, though. I knew it would be something cool.
Oh, yeah.
But I did not know that I was going to get a massive box of my favorite thing in the world. I love your, what would you call it, cold brew? It's
Or nitro cold brew, the cans. Yeah.
I have been slurping that back nonstop. It is so good.
Good, man.
Thank you so
Of
much,
course.
man. To have
you know
a
what I did
fridge
with mine
full-
this morning?
What?
I wanted a hot one, and so I popped it. I shook it up, popped it, put it in a cup, threw it in the microwave. Because we've been messing with a hot tap, so we do cold brewed coffee, cold brewed over like 16 hours or whatever. And so the extraction's slow, so there's no bitterness. The taste is different, whatever. But then throw it on a hot tap. So we'll tap a keg of cold brew, run it over a heat plate and heat it up, a nitrogenated cold brew, and it's fucking fantastic. Whole new flavor.
That works.
Anyway,
I
I
can
just-
do it with the cans that I have.
I just poured it in a cup.
What?
And threw it in the microwave and heated it up. Anyway, all of it's awesome. And I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, that's
Thank
been
you.
a whole new. I mean, and that's the coffee game. We're going to play this game for a little while, and that's like being in a university. The
You're
whole
doing
thing.
a good job, man. It's and I'm
Thanks,
not just
dude.
saying this just because you just did my podcast or you gave me a box of. If I didn't like it, I just wouldn't have mentioned
Sure.
it. But damn, thank you so much,
yeah.
and congrats for figuring out a way to make such a delicious.
Thanks,
thing.
man. Yeah, it's been years in the making, and people are like, "Well, what'd you do? Like as an entrepreneur or whatever?" I go, I don't even know really. I guess that's what it is. I feel sheepish when I hear people say, "Oh, you're an entrepreneur." I'm like, I don't really think
you
of it
are.
like that, But like, how do you stay? Because we've been around for like 5 years or whatever, and we've been around so long, and because we didn't know any better, we would have been bigger than we were. But so all you do is you pick something that you like, and then you stay alive. Is what I found about a business, right? It's like you don't let it kill you, and then you're still alive, and then you keep throwing yourself into the market. And then the market keeps reflecting back like, no, you need your labels to be like this. No, this bag would need to be like this to be on the shelf. No, this would need to have this kind of stability. No, this would. And so then all the time you go in, you hear the no and the why. And that's a great, obstacle. It's not a stopping point. It's great information for how do I now amend myself so that I can now be in the party that I want to be at. And that's kind of what we've done with the whole thing. And we haven't sacrificed our sustainability or our approach with our farmers or any of that stuff. And it's been a real neat experience.
I don't mean to prolong this and do some kind of weird, like old school telemark, like in the TV telethon or whatever.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
Caveman
yeah.
Coffee, but I do love cold brew
And Jerry Lewis.
and Jerry Lewis. And I'm not sponsored by you. I'm just saying this purely out of love for it. But like the other thing you pulled off, which is really fascinating to me, is it looks cool, but then also it's got like this weird perfect weight to it, which
Yeah.
is weird. You know what I'm talking about? Where you
And the
want
texture.
What is
Yeah.
What is that?
We're careful.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was noticing like how is this like ASMR?
It's crazy.
It's not it's great. It is
Yeah,
crazy
it's
because it's
crazy.
like you're hitting like when you open it, I
It's
don't
an
know.
experience tactily.
Yeah.
And then the first thing you notice when you bring it up is the odor of it. And you're like, there's chocolate. It smells different. And then the flavor in your mouth is first a nasal thing. And then it's like on a lot of different levels. We've been around for